At my baby shower, my mom handed me a onesie that read, "Surprise, baby of a disappointment." She insisted it was a joke, so I laughed and played along. 3 months later, there was pounding at my front door. That's when it hit me, my child's very first piece of clothing was also my family's final statement on who I was. But let me rewind. The shower was supposed to be sweet, casual. Homemade cupcakes, Pinterest-level decorations. My husband was up until 2 a.m. taping streamers to the wall. A handful of relatives, a couple friends, the usual scene when people are excited about a baby. Adam, my husband, was the only one in that room who looked genuinely happy for me. Everyone else, they were performing. My mom showed up in pearls. My sister, Rita, wore a floor-length gown like she was strutting the Met Gala. And whenever someone asked her about me, she somehow spun it into a speech about her upcoming promotion. Classic Rita. I nearly survived the whole afternoon without stepping on an emotional landmine. Then came the presents. There were baby blankets, pacifiers, a tiny giraffe with a price tag still dangling, nice one, Aunt Laura. Then my mom handed me a bag decorated with a glittery Grandmo Tubi sticker. Should have known. Inside was the onesie. Plain white cotton, size 0 to 3 months, bold black letters. Surprise! Baby of a disappointment. The room froze. Then I did the eldest daughter survival move. I laughed, loud, like it was the funniest thing ever. "Oh my God, Mom, hilarious," I said, holding it up for everyone. "Still got that edgy sense of humor, huh?" My mom beamed like she'd just won an award. Rita smirked and chimed in. "Well, you were a surprise. Someone night, think," my uncle muttered. "Apple doesn't fall far." I smiled until my jaw locked. Then I set the onesie down, walked to the kitchen, washed my hands, stared at the sink. And I made a decision. I would not raise my child around people who laughed at my expense. Around people who would one day tell my kid, "Your mom wasn't supposed to be born." Nope, I didn't say it then, because something else happened that night, something that showed me the rot ran deeper than I thought. The onesie was just the punchline. The joke had been going on for 30 years. And I'd always been the punchline. After the shower, I did what any unbothered, emotionally stable pregnant woman does when humiliated by her family. I sat on my closet floor and cried myself into a migraine. Adam tried to comfort me, but what could he say when I sobbed? "Do you think they'll treat our baby the way they treat me?" He had no answer. And that was the answer. Because this wasn't new. My mom hadn't suddenly turned cruel. This had been scripted since my birth, the inconvenient one. Rita was the planned golden child. I was the accident, the midlife crisis in a hospital blanket. And they never let me forget it. Growing up, it was always, "You ruined our empty nest plans. We didn't travel because of you," said with casual cruelty, like telling me what's for dinner. Rita never heard those words. She was chosen. I was collateral damage, and it only continued. When I got into a state university, my mom said Rita got into Yale, but this is good for you. When I got engaged, my dad asked if I wanted to wait for someone with more ambition. Every win of mine was measured against Rita's spotlight. Even as an adult, when Adam and I managed to buy a house or pay off the car, they made sure guilt followed. "You should help your sister. She's doing important work. She has a baby." And funny enough, I was the one babysitting that baby every weekend for free. I even sent money to help with my parents' mortgage. No thanks, no appreciation, just another text 2 weeks later asking for more. So, yeah, when I laughed at the onesie, it wasn't amusement. It was recognition. They didn't see me as a person, just the family scapegoat with a debit card. That night, I opened a blank document. Not a birth plan, not a to-do list. A line, boundaries I would not let them cross. No more jokes at my expense. No surprise visits, no money, no access to my baby without my consent. Adam asked what I was writing. "It's our new family policy," I said, but of course they didn't make it simple. The morning after my daughter was born, my mom's first text read, Well, is she here or not? No name, no congratulations. Rita posted an old photo of us with the caption, "Can't wait to meet my niece, wherever she is." Passive aggression, a family specialty. They even mailed a card to Adam. "Congrats, Dad." Inside, a Starbucks gift card and a sticky note. "Hope you can find better work soon." Adam looked at me and said, "This isn't about me. It's about controlling you." He was right. That's when we decided we were moving. Quietly, no address given. When my mom asked to visit, said, "I'll let you know when I'm ready." She never asked again. Rita texted, really embracing the cut-off Fuhr family vibe. Blocked. I made a folder labeled evidence. Screenshots, posts, texts. My emotional insurance policy. But still, a tiny part of me hoped. Maybe the baby would soften them. Maybe I'd finally get the apology. Instead, they escalated. And 3 months later, the banging at my front door confirmed everything. I always pictured cutting family off as slamming a door shut loud, dramatic final. In reality, it's quieter. It feels like slipping out of a burning building and locking the door behind you, not to punish, but to keep from being dragged back into the flames. I didn't send a group text or write a long letter. I just stopped. No more texts, no more updates, no more cash. I canceled the $600 monthly transfer. It's gone sending to cover their mortgage. Gone. I stopped Venmoing Rita for her emergency childcare. Bills that always lined up with her. Spa days gone. I pulled out of the so-called family emergency fund that basically meant Christine pays for everything. It's also gone. I gave no explanations. Because the second you explain to people like them, they twist your reasoning into something they can argue against. The backlash came immediately. First, the passive-aggressive texts. Saw the mortgage didn't process. Everything okay? Translation: where's our money? ATM. Then Rita: hey, your niece needs meds this month. Can you send your usual? Notice how her daughter only existed when money was on the line. When I ignored them, they escalated. My mom's voicemail started with, "I don't know what's wrong with you, but this attitude is unacceptable," and ended with, "If you think withholding money is how you punish us, maybe you're not mature enough to be a parent." 'Cause, of course, in their world, maturity means funding the very people who mock you and insult your unborn child. Then came the guilt parade. "We were counting on you. Your father's blood pressure can't handle this stress. I've worked my whole life. Is this the thanks I get?" And from Rita, "Wow, motherhood really changed you. This is just cruel. Letting mom and dad meet the baby would cost you nothing." And for a split second, I almost caved. It would have been easy to hand the baby over for a photo. Pretend for a moment that we were one of those warm families from Hallmark movies. But then I remembered the onesie. My mom's smug grin. The way I laughed so I wouldn't cry. And I thought, what happens when my daughter is old enough to understand the jokes? What happens when they start making her the punchline? Not a chance. So I sent one final message to Rita. Letting them near her would cost me more than you'll ever understand. Then I blocked her. Quietly changed my number for my clothes. Circle only dot. And just like that, Kai had peace. For the first time in my life, I slept through the night. Not because the baby slept. She absolutely didn't. But because I wasn't bracing for emotional grenades every time. My phone buzzed. But peace never lasts with people like my parents. It started with Facebook. My mom posted a baby photo of me with the caption, "I once held my daughter like this. Now I'm not even allowed to hold my granddaughter." Cue sympathy comments from relatives who hadn't spoken to me since. 2007, Rita followed with a vague post. "Some people punish their families for sport. Parenthood should make you softer, not colder." I didn't respond. I archived the posts, screenshots saved in my "in case they escalate" folder. And I'd need those receipts sooner than I thought, because weeks later, Adam's school called. Someone had reported him as unstable and dangerous around kids. Adam, who teaches first grade. Adam, who once cried during Finding Nemo. Of course, the school had to take it seriously. There was an internal review, HR meetings. But his coworkers defended him completely, and it went nowhere. Still, I knew. That call had a signature, and my family had been signing it my entire life. So that night, I printed everything: texts, emails, voicemails, screenshots. Then I called a lawyer, not to sue, just to ask, if they show up, what can I do? He explained restraining orders, cease and desist letters, how to document every single thing. Then he said something that stuck. You don't have to wait until they hurt your daughter. You can protect her now. So I did. I told the few relatives I trusted. My daughter will have no contact with my parents or Rita. Please respect that. Some agreed, some pushed back. One aunt said, but family is everything. And I told her, good thing I'm building a new one. We switched pediatricians, found a new daycare, removed our names from every registry my mom had, deleted old photos, started fresh. For the first time ever, I chose peace over approval, and it was bliss until 3 months later. When frantic banging rattled our front door, Adam jumped. The baby stirred. Then a voice outside, Christine, we need to talk. I looked out the window and froze. My mom stood there messy, crying, with a man in a cheap suit beside her holding a clipboard. Debt collector. They weren't here for peace. They were here because they were desperate. And in that moment, standing in my quiet home with my daughter in my arms, I knew they hadn't come to reconcile. They'd come to take. I stood at the top of the stairs, baby tucked in one arm, heart hammering as my mom pounded at the door. The man beside her clipboard, cheap suit, eyes full of regret, was clearly not part of the tearful reunion scene she'd imagined. Debt collectors don't come for hugs. Adam looked at me. Do you want me to? I shook my head. No, I've got it. I handed the baby to him, walked to the door and stopped. I didn't open it. I didn't have to. My mom could see my face through the glass. She burst into louder sobs, her signature brand of performance. Christine, please talk to me. We're in trouble. We need your help. You can't just shut us out. Behind her, the man shifted uncomfortably, gripping the stack of papers like he wanted to disappear. I folded my arms and said, loud enough for both of them, this isn't a good time, and you know you shouldn't be here. But we're family. She wailed, and for the first time in my life, I felt it, not guilt, not fear. Clarity? I didn't do this to you, I said, steady and calm. You did. Then I closed the blinds. Her scream echoed through the door, but I didn't flinch. I didn't cry. I walked back upstairs, kissed my daughter's forehead, and told Adam, let's call the lawyer, because I didn't need to guess. I already knew they would escalate. People like my mom don't reflect, they retaliate. Sure enough, that very night, Rita posted a video. Face full of makeup, voice trembling with perfectly rehearsed emotion. My sister cut off our parents over one mistake. She's using her, baby, to punish them. They're ruined. They cry every day. Please, if you know her, reach out. Remind her she's better than this. I laughed out loud when I saw it. Better than what? Better than protecting my child. Better than setting boundaries. Better than walking away from abuse disguised as tradition. I didn't respond. I didn't defend myself. I didn't have to. The next morning, my lawyer sent cease and desist. Letters, one to my mom, one to Rita. Any attempt to contact me, Adam, or the baby would be documented and used as evidence. This time, I wasn't bluffing. They tried anyway. Emails from fake accounts. Anonymous voicemails. One message came from unknown and said, your daughter will hate you for keeping her from her family. Nice try, Mom. But the cracks started to show. When you've been performing a role for years, eventually someone forgets their lines. A cousin I hadn't spoken to in forever reached out. Hey, I saw what Rita posted, but I also remember how your parents treated you. I don't buy their story. And slowly more relatives trickled in. Some apologized for not noticing sooner. Some admitted they'd always wondered why I seemed tense around family gatherings. One aunt even wrote, "I remember your mom saying once that you owed her for not getting an abortion. I never forgot that. I had forgotten, buried it so deep. I thought it was gone, but there it was. Proof." They'd been saying the quiet part out loud for years, so I did the unthinkable. I told the truth. No public rant. No dramatic call-out thread. Just a simple message to a small circle of extended family. I didn't cut my parents off over a single joke. I cut them off over a lifetime of manipulation, conditional love, and financial exploitation. The onesie was just the last straw. Attached. Screenshots, voicemails, photos. No commentary. Just facts. The silence that followed was beautiful. Some relatives unfriended my parents. One forwarded me a message my mom had sent them, claiming I'd lost my mind after giving birth. Desperate, transparent. The lies weren't holding anymore. People started to see the pattern. And for the first time, I started to see who my real family was: the friend who drove across town just to drop off coffee and sit with me. The neighbor who left a handwritten note, "You're doing the right thing." The old coworker who mailed a baby blanket with a card that read, "Your child will grow up free." That's the greatest gift. It's been 4 months since the Onesie. We moved 2 towns over, smaller house, bigger piece, switched pediatricians again. New daycare, new phone number. A new chapter. The baby sleeps a little better now. Adam laughs more. I smile without checking who's watching. Sometimes, though, I feel a pang, not because I miss them, but because I grieve the version of me who kept hoping they'd change, who thought if I gave enough time, money, forgiveness, they'd finally see me. That version of me is gone, replaced by someone stronger, quieter, someone who doesn't need to prove herself to people, who never cheered when she won. The other day, I found the onesie stuffed in the back of a drawer. I stared at it for a long time. Then I put it in a box labeled evidence, taped it shut, filed it away. Not to hold the pain, just to remind myself, never again. I don't know if my parents will keep trying. Honestly, I don't care. 'Cause when I look at my daughter, her big eyes, her loud laugh, her tiny fingers curled around Mini, know this much for certain: she will never believe love comes with a price tag. She will never learn to swallow humiliation with a smile. She will never grow up thinking she has to earn affection just to exist. I am not a disappointment. I'm a mother. And I finally understand what it means to protect the thing you love most. That's the story. It's not the one I imagined telling, but the one I had to live to finally see what love is. Such single quotes T. So now I'll ask you, have you ever had to make a choice like this? Did I go too far? Not far enough? Tell me in the comments. And if this story hit you, or if you want to hear more, don't forget to subscribe.